Hello, Internet. I'm back with another stream. I was a bit rushed because I had some issues setting it up, but we're here now. So last week I wasn't there because I was taking a little break, but we're back now, and the mission for today is to get the waistcoat finished, finally. So I think the last time I worked on this was about 3 weeks ago, and I just about finished cutting, I think the lining is what I was doing, or deciding how I was going to cut the lining. So what I did in the meantime was assemble the entire lining, and I've also got like the facing pieces for the center front and the collar in here. So I think the game plan for today is that we're going to attach it to the outside of the waistcoat, and then the collar is going to be the last thing to go on. So I had a look at some of the ways in which people like to attach these lining things, and it seems that for typical waistcoats where you don't have a collar, they do like everything around the edges first. So basically you put them right sides together, and then, well, put them right side. I'm totally lost now. You put them right sides together, and then you stitch all around the edges, except for... Actually... Oh yeah, except for the shoulder seams, that's it. And then you leave the bottom open, you flip the entire thing outside out, and then you can sort of stuff the shoulders into each other and stitch them together. But since I have a collar, I think I'm going to do it differently. I think it's easier to show you in a drawing rather than flopping this around on the table. So let's see whether this makes any sense to you. So I've got the waistcoat. I've got a neckline. Then this is the, not even so much the neckline. Is just like the what is it? The back of the neck? I don't know. Shoulders, armhole, shoulder, and then front. And I go the same way around the other side. So the plan here is that I'm going to put it right sides together. I'm going to stitch, let's see, all of this around the bottom edge and the front edge. And then, oh yeah, I'm also going to do the armholes, like that. Then I'm going to turn the whole thing outside out through the neck hole and the open shoulder seams. And then I can, once the whole thing is outside out, just sort of flop these open. It's just less easy to show on a drawing. So once these armholes are attached to each other, I can just sort of open this up, flop the other shoulder piece against it, and stitch it together while it's already outside out, and then sort of flop it back. I think it's going to work. If it doesn't, I'm going to have some unpicking to do. So, yeah. But I think first things first is that I do still need to do some cleaning up on the lining. Like, I stitch it together, but obviously there's still some basting thread that needs to come out, but also, more importantly, the seam allowances are still a bit long, and this needs to be pressed as well. So I'm just going to get the iron out and start with that. Let's see where we've got that. I also have a game plan for how to do the lining at the bottom. Like, while the iron heats up, I'll just show you what it is. So I've got quite a bit of space left here at the bottom. And the plan is that this is gonna fold up as a kind of facing. And then the lining should be attached like so. It's gonna go, so both of the marking lines are actually intended to be the end of the length, but I'm not gonna make this go all the way to the bottom. Instead, I'm gonna fold it under a little bit extra and attach it like that. So you have a bit of a facing gap. I'm not really sure how to call this. So the plan is that I'm gonna fold this and then stitch it from over here to the edge. I'm not quite sure where I'm gonna end up with it. I'm gonna let it depend a bit, I think, on how the corners over here are gonna turn out, because I want those to like do some origami with it. So I'm gonna do the center front and the other center front first. Then I'm gonna figure out the corners, then I'm gonna do the bottom and the rest. So let's see how it goes. But first, the pressing. I should probably maybe trim it first, actually. And I think my fabric shears are still downstairs, so apologies, I'll be back in like 2 minutes. I think that might even have been less than 2 minutes. So. Oops. I nearly pulled the iron off the table there. Hold up. Okay, so trimming. Oh, and since last time you saw the waistcoat, I also took it in a little bit more. I know I tried it on several times on stream already, but as I was looking at it again, it did feel a bit wide actually in some places. So I took a little bit extra out of the back darts, and it fits much more like snugly now. Which is nice if you're ever planning to wear it with like an overcoat of some kind. So. Seemed smart. I'm not doing the best job here of making it neat, but no one's ever going to see these seams, are they? Right, I scared myself there for a second. I thought I'd cut into like the middle of the panel. But everything is fine. I've especially got a lot of leftover seam allowances in those seams that I took a little bit extra out, like here in the back. And that just is not gonna iron flat if I don't trim it, so. Alright, this is, I think, the last one I need to trim. Yeah. So I'm gonna iron all the seams open except for the ones with the dark red facing pieces, because those I want to sit as flat as possible, so I'm not gonna, like, I'm gonna iron it towards the lining in that case, so that the thicker fabric can sit flat. All right, pressing time. I hope it's not too hot. I think it shouldn't be. I had a little scare last week when I was like, this is polyester, and I think so is this. That I put it just like, it wouldn't stay flat, so I put it a little bit hotter, and then I suddenly started melting, which is not great. So let's try not to do that today. Fortunately, like, nothing of importance got damaged, but why is my computer making noises? Oh, it looks like I temporarily lost the stream there. I hope I'm back. Hello? Okay, that's one. How does it look from the front? Oh yeah, and I also did some of the seams on the lining a little bit more generously. Like, I stitched slightly outside of the stitch line to give it like a couple of millimeters of extra space. It's just to ensure that the lining is not going to pull on anything from the outer fabric. Like, if you make the lining just slightly bigger, it's never gonna pull on anything and cause wrinkles on the outside garment. Seems to be going pretty nicely. Hello, cheerful something something. Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you're here again. How's it going? I hope I can finish this waistcoat today, but I don't know. I know I've had many of those streams where I'm like, oh, maybe I can finish it today, but never turns out, does it? You're stitching some covers over raw edges? Oh, right, like wrapping some bias tape around them, or? It's those jobs that make stuff look like super pro and like couture. It's really impressive how, well, I was gonna say a little effort, but it's actually a bunch of effort, so I get why mass-produced clothes don't have it. Let me just skip over that one real quick so I can leave the hem here. Now, I wish I had done this before the stream, but I didn't really find the time. So now this is the ironing club. Looks pretty good. Okay, I think that's it. The outside has already been pressed, so don't need to do more of that. So like I said, the first plan is that I'm gonna, or should I don't know. I have a feeling maybe I should be pressing this back already. It'll be difficult later. I'm gonna just pin some stuff together and see where we end up. So let's pretend that these front edges have already been put together. Like, wait, this is wrong, this is not. Let's put them right sides together. That seems like a good plan. We'll start with that. Alright, so these corners are lining up. Something like this. And let's assume that these are already stitched together. Then we flip the whole thing over. And we end up with this. Right, so this is where I stitched it together. Then I want this to fold up and this to fold up. And I want these corners to make a nice, like, you know, those sort of triangle-y corners. So we'd have to do a lot of trimming in this corner for sure. But let's pretend that all this bulk is fine. You would end up with something like this. Right? Because this is me just folding the corner further in. But then, so this would be attached maybe. But this would have to be a little bit loose. So do I just have a tiny gap here? I think that would actually work. Or can I just do some math on how I want the bottom edges to connect and just do it? Also, I think I made a mistake. as I oftentimes do. I've left all these bottom edges open. Like, look at this. So if I'm gonna fold this up, it's just gonna be flappy. I need at least 3 or 4 centimeters of this to be actually stitched together. So, and I need it to be stitched together in such a way that it roughly matches the angle that this is going up. Because if I, say you want to fold this exactly up, then in order for it to match with this seam, you would want the seam on this one to go like this to match with that, and the same for this. So I think I've got some stitching to do on these bottom edges actually. It's sad that I didn't, like, I knew it was going to be facing, that's why I cut this much extra. And I should have just taken my pattern, flipped it down, and marked a couple centimeters worth of seam line. But I didn't. So let's abandon the lining project for now and actually make sure I can fold this up without having all these loose flaps everywhere. Yep. Okay. So, power please. Let's see if I can just sort of eyeball it or whether I need to do anything with the angles. Because obviously from the waist it becomes wider. So in theory you would have to like mirror the same angle going downwards, like going in as much as that is going in. There's some degree of being able to wing it, but I don't like winging things where technically you have access to the information. I'm gonna just hold up the pattern to it and see how big the difference is. Let's see, what have we got? This is a, looks like a side back. What piece is that? Let's grab the one that doesn't have a pocket on it. Alright, so this pattern piece goes here, and then it ends here. And for this to fold up and match, it needs to be shaped like this. That is quite an angle that I probably cannot wing, so I think I'm going to go and mark this because I need to. And it should be as straightforward as just doing this and then matching it up on the other side. Yeah. Okay. Let's find the other side back. Here. I'm so tired of myself. Why did I not just mark this when I started? Alright, next piece. What have we got here? Looks like front arm, side front, whatever this is called. Yeah. So flip it downwards. Should also be a similar piece on this side somewhere. Like that. Okie dokie. What else have we got? This is the front facing, so I don't need that, I think. It's straight anyway. Where is my center back panel piece? Actually, where is that gone? Thought I had everything, but apparently not. Let me quickly check somewhere. Haha! The escaped pattern pieces have been located. So this is the back, and this is the... Oh, this is actually the facing piece on the center front. So this is the inside piece of the center front. So this is the one that actually... Oh yeah, this is the one that's actually got some angle to it. Okay. Gotcha. So this goes like that. Yes. And then like this. Where's my... There we go. Okay. Now the back. Go like... This is quite an extreme curve, actually. Especially with the extra that I took out. Oh yeah, I would have never come up with this on my own, so I'm glad that I marked it. And the last front piece. Okay, that should solve that. I'm gonna jam some pins in it, so I'm really sure that I've got it lined up. Alright, that looks good. Alright, so I already know that Cheerful Something Something is busy sewing. Is anyone else in the chat making anything right now? If so, like, let me know what it is, because I'm interested. Wow, some of these angles are pretty extreme. Crafting on Sundays. Yeah, exactly. You're working on some Warhammer? I mean, are you, like, building or painting or just filling in sheets? Because I think, like, Doing miniatures definitely takes skill. Yeah, okay, I think that's all the seams binned up, so. If that's the wrong pedal. Like, I keep all the like power cords and pedals under my desk, like regardless of whether I'm using the machine. So I've also got the overlock machine pedal down there. And like whenever I want to sew, I hit the overlock pedal and vice versa. Next. Alright, I think that's the issue of the mystery of the flappy facing is now resolved. Hey Marceau, welcome to the stream. I'm just fixing some mistakes, like usual. Should probably maybe also press these open, because they're going to be folded up. Yeah, I probably should. Let's plug the iron in. Here we go again. Alright. So, now when I fold these up, it's one piece instead of a million pieces. So I'm just gonna iron these seams open so that they will fold upwards neatly. Maybe I'll also just fold it up and give that a press, just so the fold will stay in pretty nicely. Seems like a plan. But yeah, and this is the inside of the pocket. I think I'm gonna, like, I've already graded it in terms of, like, I've cut, I'm not sure you can see that. I've cut this seam allowance shorter than that one to make it less bulky, like there's not as thick of an edge. But maybe I'm also gonna, I don't know. How obvious is it from the outside? You can sort of see it through the fabric, you know? Because it's bulkier. So I was thinking maybe I would just cut some, like do some manual pinking, because I don't have pinking shears, and just cut little triangles out of it so to make the edge even more fuzzy. But on the other hand, maybe I'm a bit too lazy for this. I don't know. It'll be most obvious over here. Oh. Yeah, basically if the edge is less of a defined line, then it will be less obvious showing through the fabric on the front. Because there's not enough definition, like, you can see that there's something there from the front, but there's definitely not enough definition to show each individual triangle. So instead you just get a way fuzzier line. And one thread can't undo everything? I mean, this fabric is reasonably fray proof. Like it's fraying a little bit, but it's not that bad. I really don't, I mean, pinking as a way of stopping fraying is in some ways a myth. Like, it doesn't make it impossible for fibers to fall out. It's just that the fibers that fall out are tiny pieces, so you don't end up pulling on them and pulling everything out. But I don't know. With fabric like this, it doesn't really fray, and that's gonna be mostly just inside the lining anyway. No one's ever gonna see it. I'm not even gonna bother finishing the edges, honestly, because I'm lazy. Let's see if it helps. I don't know. You can still sort of see it, but I mean, there's a pocket there. I don't know. I made an effort. I'm gonna count it, and now I'm gonna iron it. So first, we open this up so it will fold nice and flat. Yeah, exactly. And if you put it in the washing machine, you often get that it frays a lot around the edges, and all the threads that are hanging out of the side sort of tangle together and make lumps and stuff. And if you do this, then instead you just get tiny pieces that are not gonna clump together. Yeah, there is. Well, I mean, at least, yeah, you can buy thin fabric that's quite strong for pockets. We call it zakkatoen in Dutch. I'm not sure what the English word for it is. But for this pocket, I wanted the, well, I'll show you why I didn't use it for this one. It's because I have this flappy thing on the outside. It's called a welt, I think. Is this the welt of a welt pocket? I don't know. So I've got this flappy thing that needed to go in there anyway, out of the same fabric. So that's gonna make some bulk around here where the edges of this piece are. Then I've got this, which also needs to be the same fabric. Otherwise, when it sort of gapes open like this, you see different fabric. So that's another piece that needed to be back there. So my options are make the whole pocket out of that, or have a thick chunk of flaps and facings here, and then use the thin fabric for the bottom half of the pocket. And I couldn't be bothered. But it's an option. Maybe in pants I would do it. Alright, so now I'm going to flip this up and iron it into position. Because this is how it's going to end up having to sit when it's finished. Yeah, exactly. It's like it introduces 2 extra pieces and some seams that there's still going to be some bulk around it anyway, and I just no. Let's make sure everything is folded correctly, so it will be nice and smooth. I'm just gonna go from my original plan of doing the attaching the lining at the center front first, and then figuring out how to do the sort of the origami corner once it's already there. It's a little bit thick because this is really curvy, so I'm gonna just snip into it so it can open up a little bit. I have to say that this fabric doesn't keep ironed parts very well. It just sort of, it'll stay like this, but it's not a very clear fold line. Your next seminar is starting? Alright, I will, unless the seminar is 3 hours long, I will probably still be live when it's done. So I'll see you there and have fun. Whoops. Put a little fold into it. Alright, nearly there. I think I'm going to really take this step by step because while I'm reasonably convinced that the game plan I've thought out works, I'm not 100% on it. Sort of, I want to avoid the situation like with the pocket last time where I like flipped it over and tried to explain it to myself 3 times and then still stitched it on wrong. So, step by step so I don't have to unpick too much if I screw it up inevitably. Okay, so let's pin it on. We're gonna put it right sides together. Oh yeah, I never ended up pressing this bit, so I'll just give that a quick while it's still kind of warm. Yeah, that looks pretty neat. Okay. So this goes here. And I'm going to stitch it exactly to the corner because I think for that, like I've done those mitered corners before on a skirt, and I think it means I have to stitch to the end here, then stitch back like this. No, no, I don't. I stitch like this at a 45-degree angle, and then when you flip it, it makes sense, right? Yes, that's the thing. 45 degrees, because this is 90 degrees. Yes, I can do that. And maybe I can even do it in one go. I know it's ambitious, but you gotta live on the edge sometimes. Where's my, my ruler? Fairly sure I've got... Oh, whoops, dropped it. Yeah, I'm gonna mark the 45-degree angle because I'm feeling lucky. So corner is here. $45-degree angle. It's a bit not that practical because it's big. I think we're going to here. Are we going to here? Yes. So if I stitch like that and then fold it outwards, I should have a mitered corner. Now let's pin the rest. Is this practical to be doing? I'm gonna skip the this is because I wanted to understitch these edges, like understitching, like the reverse stop stitching where you stitch it to its own seam allowance so it stays to the back and doesn't try to roll over to the front. And that might be difficult to do if you've got this stitched already, because you would fold it back over, stitch it down on itself. That'd be kind of difficult to do if you did this. But then after you've already done the understitching, you can't fully fold it back to do this with. I think the understitching is just gonna stop here, which shouldn't be much of an issue. Like, theoretically, this would start to roll to the front, but it's very small, so it probably won't. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Just stop the understitching a bit short of the fold of the corner. As you can hear, I am making it up as I go along. It's like, I try to think I try to think 1 or 2 steps ahead, because you know that you are gonna have to do something here. But on the other hand, if you try to think out all the steps in advance, you go nuts. So I try to define some points where I'm like, okay, if I have this, it's probably possible to finish it. And then don't care so much about the order of the steps to get there. But then once you actually get there, you're like, is this gonna work the way I thought it was? What happened here with these loops? Alright, that's one outside edge pinned. Well, let's do the other one as well, so I can stitch it in one go. Let's also mark my magical mitered angle. Oh wait, I was making, I think, life more difficult for myself last time. Because this is a 45-degree angle, and I could just put it like it's... Wow, I am smart. Did I do this right? So it's gonna stitch. I'm psyching myself out here. So it's stitched like this. Hold it open. Stitch. Hey Shania, welcome back. How are you doing? I'm just doing some double checking on my on trying to do mitered corners. No, I think I'm doing it wrong. No, I think this is incorrect. So once you get it stitched like that, you want it to go... Oh no, you go... I'm just gonna fold the corners again when I'm done stitching the front, because I don't trust myself anymore. Screw the corners for now. I'm gonna have to just turn it outside out and have a look at it again once all this is stitched. Today's definitely decluttering day. Today I'm putting in the lining, so I've assembled the lining already, as you can see. And I'm just now starting to attach it at both of the center fronts. And I think I know what I'm doing after, but I'm just double checking every step of the way because it really trips me up sometimes how this whole like turning it inside out business works. Wait. Why does this corner look so weird? Oh, because it's supposed to. Oh, and there's another thing I'm not supposed to screw up, which is that the part where the collar goes on the center front, which is here and up, needs to not get stitched together. I want to leave the seam allowance sticking out, and then I'm going to attach the collar to that, and it's going to stand up. So I'm going to have to make some snips here to make those come out. That's a good thing that I remembered that. I also need to double check that that is the correct position, because I know I changed the collar a couple of times. And especially changed the part where it started, so. Before I stitch, I'm gonna just double check that on my pattern, I think. Because I spent way too much time in way too hot weather trying this on. To get the collar right. So now I need to make sure I don't screw it up now. Why am I pinning this? I don't need to stitch this. Wow. I'm clearly at my best today. Okay, so double checking the collar math. Where's my, here we are. So, this is the neck going up to the shoulder. And this is the collar piece. And back neck is where exactly? I keep losing this stuff. The back of the neck is here. So this connects like that. And this length should be the same as this length. So let's measure whether I'm insane or not. Wait, there's an easier way to do this. Fold it up. And pop it against the edge. Oh, it's moving. Stop moving. What? Why did my lamp just switch off? Hello? I don't. I'll figure that out later. So collar goes like this. Somewhere over here, it crosses the shoulder seam, and then it goes. Uh-oh. This does not look like the same length. I'm fairly sure that this is the final collar piece because I did like a... No, this cannot... No. Am I... Oh! I know! Ha ha ha. Where's that pattern piece gone? Because this is actually not the neck. This is the neck minus the facing. There's a piece I cut out there. Oh! Whew! I spooked myself. But where is that neck piece now? I know I had all the pattern pieces lying around here that I could find. That's not necessarily all of them. Probably get on my organizational skills, but I know there was a pile of pattern pieces with also the pocket piece that was just lying around somewhere. Ha ha! Ha ha ha! There we go. This is the neckline. This is not the neckline. Let's try that again, shall we? I'm glad it's relatable. I mean, if it's not educational, at least it's relatable, you know? It's also makes me feel like I'm maybe not that bad. So I think that matches up there. Let's double check that. Oh, this doesn't want to stay on the tape. I need tape. I need lots of tape. So step one is I'm going to actually tape this back where it came from so I don't lose it. Step two, I'm going to tape it to the table so it doesn't move when I try to compare it to the collar. Like half of this pattern is also just consisting of tape at this point. But, you know, why shouldn't it? Alright. So, this is where it actually crosses the shoulder seam, and this means nothing. None of these markings mean anything. And then we move on to the front. I think it's a better fit like this. And we end up, yeah, where I thought we would. The marking that actually says collar on it, next to two crossed out collar markings. Alright, awesome. Now let's see whether this matches what I actually did with the markings that are on the fabric right now. So. This is pretty heavy. Like, it's getting quite bulky. This is gonna be a winter waistcoat, I think. Alright, so this goes here. And then this little thread marking should... Yes. It's not particularly clear, so I'm gonna just also chalk the hell out of it. Also means I should not be stitching this, and I will remove this before I do. Okay, it looks like I was more organized than I thought a couple of weeks ago. Ugh. Thanks, past me, for doing it right. Go. Right, let's stitch. Is my 45-degree angle correct? I have to be able to think my way out of this. Oh no, it's not correct. It does have to be going inward. No, it has to be going inward on one piece and outward on the other. Because the part... Yes. So my angle is Yes. I will explain later, but my brain just clicked for the mitered corner thing and has realized that what I was gonna do half an hour ago was incorrect. Okay, that's one. The machine sounds soothing? I mean, yeah, it makes a bit of noise. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's so loud, I should get a modern machine. I mean, this one is not ancient, but it's not one of those fancy schmancy, full automatic whatever things. Sometimes I'm like, it's so noisy, but on the other hand, it sounds like it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. I don't know. Yours is in good shape? That sounds different. How's life? Life is, I mean, it's still 2020. I can't, my life in general is not as bad as some people's is this year. Still got a job, I'm not sick, so. So how's your life? Uh-oh. Woo! Haha! The bobbin gods have smiled upon me. I ran out of bobbin just as I finished. Haha! Yes! You're just working on school assignments? Ooh, formal clothing for men. I always feel it's interesting because on the one hand, like, men always complain that basically if there's some formal occasion they have to wear a suit, whereas women can choose from like a million different outfits. But on the other hand, there's a lot of subtle things that go into suits about like which style of suit and how you wear your tie exactly and all that stuff. So yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. Whew, I'm glad I'm getting some relatability on the bobbin thing. It's like, oh, yes. This could have gone wrong, but it didn't. Am I gonna trim this? Probably gonna grade it a little bit. But once again, not this piece because the collar needs to go on it. I'll do the understitching first, maybe. Yeah. I mean, you can sort of make men's clothes for yourself. It's nothing. I mean, it's a bit androgynous, but I kind of like it. I mean, says the person who's making a Regency gentleman's outfit for herself, but, you know. So, this needs to be pressed open, and then this way, and then understitched. Yes, yes. Okay, let's get the iron heated up once again. For a formal event? Oh yeah. I mean, one of the things is that as a woman, you can, like, you can totally make a women's version of a white tie suit. Like, you don't have to wear a men's cut, but you can do everything else. You can do a tailcoat, you can do a tie, you could do a dress shirt. I'm gonna take my sleeve board, I think. Because it's getting a bit flippy, insidey, outy right now. I mean, yeah, I'm quite in favor of making events a little bit more formal than they need to be in terms of, not in terms of whether it's a party, but in terms of what I'm wearing. I love showing up to things wearing something really nice. And if you're a bit overdressed, like, it's way better to be overdressed than underdressed. And everyone will be like, oh my god, look at what you're wearing. It's great. Overdressing is a way of life. Still working on 18th century daily wear? Are you making like those white underdress chemise things? And what else are you making? Because honestly, 18th century is not, like, I'm not a historian to begin with. And 18th century, I just associate with huge skirts. I'm not really sure what daily outfits look like. So now I've pressed it open. Now I'm going to press it flat towards the side of the lining. Yes, 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 yes. Just the bum pads? Ah! Yeah, that seems much more doable. Alright, that's one side. Let's check it from the outside. It's pretty decent. Let's do the other side. This has turned into a huge red blob on my table where I'm not always sure what I'm looking at. Late 18th. So sort of start of Regency? Almost? Feels good. No, this goes the other way because the lining is that way. 5 meters of terracotta colored polyester silk. Ooh! It's kind of an... 5 meters you can't do you can't do a huge dress. And the sort of the silk calls for that. What would I do with 5 meters of terracotta silk? You could maybe also make a sort of blouse out of it. Something with slightly puffy or drapey sleeves so you can show off the fabric. Or maybe some like... what are those front ruffles called again? School is focusing on Colbert's. Ugh. I would love to do that. I have like jacket anxiety because you have to deal with the horsehair canvas and the pad stitching and the construction methods that I've never done. And I want to, and it's on my wish list, but I haven't. I've always put the projects that I know how to do in front. I should probably get around to it. School won't touch those? Won't touch what? The techniques? That's kind of sad. Okay, I think that was that. Oh, really? Aw. Like, I was jealous of you for going to school for that stuff. And now I'm like, oh, not missing out too much then. Okay. So, oh wait, no, this needs to be... Yeah, no, this is good. 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 Outside out. And then understitch, but not too much. What? Oh, it's a pin. Okay, no, it's fine. Okay, everything is fine. Ugh. Need everything industrial? Ah. I mean, it makes sense because I guess there are very few people who make a living out of couture garment construction. So I guess that focusing on the industrial fashion industry thing, it makes sense as an education. Alright, so I'm gonna understitch this. So the game plan is to stitch through, so this is the lining and the facing. This is what's gonna be the center front edge. I'm going to stitch through the facing piece and into both of the seam allowances with the plan that it stays nice and flattened together, and when it's folded out like that, it's not going to creep around the corner and show in the front. It's not going to be a huge disaster because it's the same fabric anyway, but I think it's going to give a nice crisp edge, so let's do it. You were bummed when you were forced to take out beautiful hand. Wow. It needed to be a different stitch. Like, if it works, right? If it looks nice. Yes, understitching. It's like top stitching, but on the bottom. Let's see if I can wrangle this thing. I think it's big and open enough that I can throw it under the machine. I think. So let's try and hope for the best. Crisp edges. Oh yeah, the thread marking. It's a love-hate relationship I have with it, because I like accuracy a lot. Like a lot. And the thing with the thread marking too, I will stitch right on top of it because that's where you're supposed to stitch. And then take ages picking it back out. But I hate putting it in, I hate picking it out. I'm just doing it for the accuracy, but I have recently been evaluating whether I want to actually draw seam allowance on my patterns or get one of those seam allowance markers for my scissors and cut it for exactsies so I don't have to. Because Aww. The synthetic fabric is, I mean, it has some merits. Oh yeah, I was gonna not gonna do the understitching all the way at the bottom because I need to do the mitered corner thing. My brain is going good. So yeah, maybe I'm gonna keep doing the thread marking. Maybe I'm gonna switch to just doing some either chalking or cutting precise seam allowances because I am tired of it. But I love, like, I never want to cut exact seam allowances because I always make one-offs. So if it doesn't fit, I like having big seam allowances so I can make alterations. Remember when I was really enthusiastic about the fact that my bobbin ran out at exactly the right time? I didn't actually wind a new bobbin, so I did nothing for the past 30 centimeters. Let's try that again, shall we? Yep, I didn't. Whoops. Come on, come out. Go through the little hole. You know you can do it. Yeah. Wait, did I not? Yeah, there we go. That's probably enough. Alright, let's try that again. Skipping the first couple of centimeters for my corner, yes. Maybe I should pick out the basting threads first, because I'm just gonna double down on them, right? But I don't want it. Whatever. I'll just go and I'll watch a good movie to unpick it later. We're going around the curve now, so it's going to be a little bit challenging. To make sure I stop here-ish, because that's where the collar is going to be attached. Okay, I think that's one side successfully done, but I mean, let's look at it first before I make such claims. And so now, oh yeah, it's definitely working. It's definitely making the front stay nicely in the front and the back stay nicely in the back. Yep, it's good. I like it. And I'm gonna have to trim some of the seam allowances here in the corner because this is getting way bulky and weird to handle, so do that after I stitch the other one. You always put the reminder on for the live, but YouTube doesn't remind you? Aw. Maybe that's in a setting somewhere, but honestly I don't know how that works or how to fix that. I thought that that's what it does when you when you say remind me when it starts, that it would remind you when it starts, but I mean, if it helps, it always starts at the same time. But I know that people like do things in their lives outside of YouTube. So I get it that on a Sunday afternoon you're not watching the clock for it. Lining side is here. Seam allowance is going the right way. Yes. Okay, let's go. What? Wait. Whew! I thought I maybe already stitched over the lining from somewhere near here, but I didn't. Whew! Okay. We're good. Stop a little bit before the end. Yeah! I did it! Yep, I like it. So now, stitch over lining. Oh yeah. Oh yes. I know. It's like, oh. I catch the underside of things so often when I'm sewing, and it just makes me cry, especially when it's like one of those hard pieces, and then you have to nah. Anyway, I'm gonna turn this inside out again, trim the seam allowances, and then rethink what I was doing with the mitered corners, because I thought I was doing something and then I realized I couldn't, and now I just need to see it folded to see where it makes sense, because my brain cannot deal with this anymore. And I gotta make sure not to cut off the part where I want to attach the collar still. I think I'm just gonna cut 1/2 a little bit closer to make it less bulky. Like this fabric, like the dust comes off and it sort of clogs up my scissors. Like it starts to cut like it's got sand in it or something. Alright. And the other one. I cut the Lining side shorter, okay. Just for consistency's sake. Alright, now let's figure out those corners again. Because what I want to end up with is that I've got finishing your shift. Like, I see people hand sewing those shifts and things and shirts, doing all the little felled seams and... Diana, are you asking me or are you asking Barurin? So, the plan is that this will go a little bit diagonally, and this will go in. Oh, this is going to be so thick in the corner, right? Is this smart? I mean, I have no choice, really. I'll just have to aggressively trim it. Aggressive. Me! I don't know. It's probably polyester, and more polyester. I haven't actually checked. This is just one of those things where I was like, I want to make a waistcoat, and I went to the nearest fabric store and bought stuff that looked nice. And it's the kind of fabric store where they don't even have labels on the bolts. Just whatever. So I was just like, oh, it looks nice, let's go. So it's just this sort of almost felt textured, but it is woven. Probably polyester. Actually, I'm kind of curious now. Let's figure out what it is. I'm gonna cut a little piece off. And I had a lighter here somewhere. Let's set some things on fire. Chat's being stupid and you can only see your own messages. So I'm streaming simultaneously on Twitch and on YouTube. So you will only see the Twitch chat on Twitch, but you can see the YouTube chat on the stream screen, basically. This is definitely polyester. Like, that just straight up melted into a ball. There is a way for me to, like, set it up so that it copy-pastes all the messages back and forth from YouTube to Twitch or something, but I find that really annoying, so... Oh, that burned a lot more cleanly. Maybe it's cotton. I can barely smell it. It doesn't smell like anything. More fire. Oh yeah, burnt paper. Here we go. This is probably cotton. Nice. Good to know. So yeah, extremely historically accurate. I've got a polyester thing, and this is a cotton something else. So, how was I doing? So, when this is folded over to the top, the mitered corner needs to run something like this. So for the bottom piece, it on the front runs like that. Get a little bit extra on the bottom. From the other side, it's gonna run up like that. So we're gonna lose a bit of fabric. And so when you flip it back inside out, you should have a line that runs something like this. If you draw a straight line through this point, you will end up with something you can stitch together, and that will make a mitered corner on the back. Right. Let's try it. And I don't want it to be the full 45 degrees. I think that's a bit much. I want to do it more like that. Because then the angle you get extra over here is exactly the angle that you're missing there. I'm fairly sure that's how it works. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm even kind of considering stopping to simultaneously stream to Twitch, because the number of viewers from Twitch is way lower, and it does lead to like weird chat issues, and I have to set it up specifically so it's streaming to both at the same time, and I don't know. It's kind of... Wait, I want the corner to end here. I don't want it to continue forever, obviously. Am I doing this right? I think I'm doing this right. A little basting thread, maybe? Twitch is more intended for gaming streams and stuff, though. Like, there is this makers, what is it called? Makers and Crafts or something corner that I'm streaming in right now, but there's almost nobody there. I mean, okay, sure, it started as gaming, but then they added crafts and just chatting or something, and pretending that you can stream anything. I'm gonna just... There is? I look at the makers and crafting corner, and the number of active viewers at a given time is like 1,000 worldwide on all the streams. I'm not particularly convinced by it. And I see a lot of people there assembling keyboards for some reason. Like diamond pixel art, assembling keyboards, and then random other stuff. Or like maybe cross-stitching Pokemon sprites or something. I don't know. Okay, so now I'm gonna flip it like that and stitch it together. This is now sort of inside out, outside out, and turned into the really getting wrapped up in itself now. Whoops. Oh yeah, I stitched through the seam allowance. Whoops. That's not supposed to happen. Let's cut it out. Alright. So you two lines, you need to meet up. Yeah, the blacksmithing stuff is really cool. There's also some like who are doing like silver jewelry or stuff like that. I've watched some cool stuff on Twitch, and it is nice that you can just go to the makers and crafting thing and pick something. Whereas on YouTube, you sort of need to search for something, or you need to know who you're looking for. Oh, and there's also a lot of... You're affiliate and still going to do crafting sewing streams 3 times a week? Oh, really? Well, congratulations. I'm glad it works for you. I mean, I didn't intend to get to affiliate or anything. I mostly started streaming as a productivity hack to basically force me to sit down and sew. But, oh, I should probably measure this angle and do the same thing on the other side. Maybe I'll do it after I stitched it. Bah. Nah. Yeah. Decisions. You're making fursuits costumes on stream? Huh. I've seen 1 or 2 of those, yeah. That seems to be a thing that's happening on Twitch. That is true. So, what angle are you? About 20-ish degrees. Let's see if we can replicate that on the other side. Oh wait, there's probably an easier way if I just measure... It's approximately the same. It'll look the same. Let's make sure I've got this point right. So according to math, this is how it goes. Then we stitch it together like that. Alright, I think that should do. Let's stitch these and then see whether in all of my triple checking I actually got it right this time. Welcome back! How was your seminar? Corners. And I'm gonna stop at the edge of the facing because I don't want to mess with the lining. Alright, let's check whether I am an idiot or not. There's a lot of bulk down there because I haven't trimmed anything away, but we should be able to see whether it checks out. I think this is it. If you poke out the corner now. You end up with yay! It works. It's not super obvious. But basically this angled thing is what I was after, and it's doing what I wanted it to do. Well, so it's just for the inside to look nice. Like the outside is the exact shape that the pattern piece was. Nothing has happened to it. It's still the same straight corner. Just that the lining, like this corner is not gonna sort of hang out of the bottom or anything. And also it's gonna lift this bit of the lining up from the bottom edge a little bit. So I'm gonna then fold it back and it's gonna sit like this. So there's a little bit of clearance from the lining to the bottom edge. Make sense? So let's stitch the other corner, and then I'm gonna do some trimming so I can actually neatly turn it outside out, because there's a lot of fabric in there right now. I can't actually see. I might have... I stitched it sort of upside down, like from the side where I can't see what I'm doing, but... Ooh, I did it exactly right by accident. Woohoo! It's interesting when I saw this kind of... sure, backups is a common seminar topic. I'm gonna switch on a little bit more light, because it's getting a bit darker outside. So now I've got these corners with these things. Let's see. What amount of fabric do we still need? This is gonna go get folded back like that. So we need most of it except this corner. Everything above that line can definitely go. So I'm gonna start with that. And then from the other side, we need nothing except the regular lining fabric, so everything that's not currently in use can also go. And then let's cut across the corner. I need to make sure that I don't cut into anything I need though, so let's pull out a couple of these threads so I can actually see where I'm cutting. Alright, so the corner is right there. And I'm gonna just cut it. Not into it, but right outside of it. And then hopefully I'll be able to turn it and it'll be nice. I'll cut a bit more from that side, it's a bit lopsided. Oop. Let's get the pokey stick. And let's poke it. Let's get the pointy side of the pokey stick in there. nice. That looks like a pretty decent corner, I think. It's not super pointy, but with how bulky the fabric is, I'm not dissatisfied. See if I can poke it out just a little bit more. See if I can get in between the layers. Ooh, yep, there it comes. A nice crisp corner. There we go. Oh yeah, and then of course it folds back a little bit like that. Is that gonna cause me any trouble? No. Ta-da! That looks nice. It's sitting very nicely. I'm glad I put this effort in. That was worth it. Ta-da! Let's do the other one. I feel like on the back I'm quite outside of the line I drew, but let's turn it and see how it looks. Perfectly on it on the front though. Let's flip it and see whether it's off or not. Because I feel like I'm not quite on the chalk line here on the back. So I might have to redo this one. I think it must have sort of... like there was only one pin in there. It might have just sort of at the end of the pin pulled toward one side. See how it's doing. Oh, it's still good actually. That looks fine. Okay, now let's figure out at what height I want to stitch the lining to the bottom. Because I've got this corner that we know about. And we've got this fold line that I tried to iron in a while back, but has already shifted on me. Just gonna... Your towel died? Oh boy. Well, congratulations. I'm still just flipping some corners. They turned out okay, so I'm just figuring out exactly where I'm gonna stitch the lining. And this is not staying folded as I want it to, so I'm throwing some pins in there. Alright, so this line on the lining is theoretically the same as this line in terms of length. Like it should match up like that. But obviously we're going to turn this in a bit more. So the distance between there and there should be the same as the distance between here and here. That makes sense, right? I think that makes sense. Or I should just pin it nicely and then flip it back and stitch it? I'm not really sure. Or I'm just gonna measure. Let's see. Let's do math, because I like math. It gives me an artificial sense of control. It's about 1 centimeter up from the edge on this side, and theoretically it's the same over here. That's a bit more here actually. But we'll make that meet in the middle. It's not perfect. It's more like 1.5 over on this side. Yeah. I'll just roll this out a little bit more. And it'll be close to the same. It's not enough of a difference that anyone's really gonna notice. I'm just gonna roll this back a little bit. There's a tiny bit. Just cheat a couple of millimeters out there. There. Or should I redo this? It is different though. Nah. And it's exactly the difference I saw on the inside. It's off by like that much. Nah! Screw it. So, that means that that's the same distance that we're going to be stitching from the edge of the lining. And it's double the distance from this to where the lining is going to be stitched on. So if I just... How am I going to stitch that? I'm going to fold it open and stitch it like that. So how should I pin it? I want to easily see those lines. I'm going to fold this open. I'm going to mark the line on this fabric and on this fabric, and then pin it. I think that's it. I'm going to just chalk a distance on the wrong side of the fabric. Where is my seam guide? There we go. So we started about 2 centimeters here, 3 centimeters there for the total distance. I'll just gradually work our way up. See, by the middle we should be at 2.5. Let's sort of sketch that in. By the way, does anyone have, like, this is one of those seam allowance or seam guides by Prim, and it's really bent. Like, I didn't do anything to it, and I tried flattening it with an iron, and it just doesn't want to. Has anyone got advice on how to flatten it? Oh yeah, I think it's gonna be forgiving enough that it's gonna turn out okay. But, we'll see. Yeah, that is not a straight line, is it? That's better. I mean, I've got some leeway on the lining because it's going to be slightly bagged. So if I get this wrong by a couple of millimeters, it'll just hang a little bit wonkily on the bottom, but it's not gonna pucker, it's not gonna pull, it's gonna just look mildly imperfect, which I can deal with. Alright, and then for this side, I just care about the original stitch line, right? That was the plan. Original stitch line goes in and attaches to that. Yes. Because this goes here. That goes there. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna pin some and then turn it outside out again to check, because I can't brain today. But I think this is how it goes. And then theoretically also the seams should line up on the seams. The more the flare, the more the trouble. Yeah, there's a little bit of curve to it, but not a lot. Put it around a glass, the way it doesn't want to bend and tie it. Oh yeah, that's a plan. I did put heavy things on top for some time. Like I put it on under a large cutting mat on the floor and walked on it for a while. Left it there for a couple of weeks, but no luck on that one. And I tried heating it up with under some paper with an iron, obviously because I didn't want to melt it, and then put it under a book to cool off. But nah, that didn't cut it either. So let's see whether this makes sense. If it gets stitched like this, it folds back up like that. Yes, I think this checks out. I think what I'm doing makes sense. That's always nice to confirm. Is this actually where stitch line is supposed to be? There. Yeah, exactly. It gets a little bit floppier under the iron, but it doesn't stay that way. Maybe I'll just have to get one of the metal ones or one of the more... I just realized that this 4 centimeters of facing that I cut is way too much. Because I guess at first I thought I was going to miter the corners more, but I'm not. So let's get rid of some of the bulk here. How am I going to use this? It's just making it more difficult to pin. Yeah, maybe I should get one of the metal or wood or something seam guides. Maybe I'll make one myself. I've got a Snapmaker 2 on pre-order. It's one of those 3D printy, laser engravey, CNC routy thingies. So I can just design the perfect seam guide and then CNC it out of some plywood or something. Why not? Alright, so let's get this all lined up. Maybe I should do all the seams first so I can then space out the lining accordingly if it's a little bit imprecise here and there. Because this needs to go there. What time is it now? Oh, it's already 5:15. Jeez. And here I was, maybe I'll finish it today. That'll be the longest running gag. I might finish it today. Spoiler, she didn't. I feel like I spent a lot of time fixing things and figuring stuff out that I already thought I knew how I was going to do it, but that I wasn't sure I'd brained correctly. So when this is attached, I should be able to also do the armholes, which I also think I'm gonna understitch when they're done. Because especially in the armholes there is no facing, it's just the lining fabric. So keeping that to the back instead of wrapping around to the front would be great. And then I should be able to flip it outside out and do the shoulder seams. But that's, I don't know, it suddenly feels like a long time into the future. So what I think what I'm gonna, now that it's becoming obvious that I'm not gonna finish it today, or at least on stream, I don't think I'm gonna do it tonight either, but who knows. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish this off stream. Because where I'm going to end up today is that the lining is going to be partially or entirely attached, and then I need to attach the collar, and then it's just buttonholes from there. You don't want to spend a couple of hours watching me do buttonholes, because I'm going to do a trial one, do a couple other ones, pick them open, stitch on the buttons. It's not going to be great entertainment, I think. So I think I'm going to do that off stream. So the waistcoat is going to be finished hopefully sometime this week. But what I am going to do next week then is I think a second shirt to go underneath, because you know I did the white shirt on stream before, the one that I sort of YOLO'd my way through because I just finished that corset, then I was done actually thinking about things. So what I think I'm gonna do is make a black shirt that's kind of similar in style to the Regency men's shirt, but it's just sort of a modern take on it. I've done a couple of sketches that I'm going to show you after I stitch this, because otherwise it's just going to be... I'm going to come back next week and be like, well, actually, waistcoat's not finished. So let's make this a priority. But before I stop today, I'm going to show you the sketches for the modern Regency shirt. I'm planning to use a modern base, but I'm going to keep the elements of, well, the enormous collar, obviously, because you kind of have to. That was the whole point of the outfit, is to have all the collars. And then I also really like the puffy sleeves and the aspect of the gathered fabric coming out of the armhole. I'm gonna do something similar. I'm currently on a raglan sleeve with some pin tucks. Sounds a bit weird, but trust me, it's gonna be great. Why is this, why does this appear to not be the same size? It seems like the, oh, right. No, it doesn't make sense, does it? This is exactly the length. Oh, it does make sense. Because this is exactly the length of the bottom, because that's just the bottom edge of the pattern. But this has been slightly folded in, because it's gonna end up there. So here is slightly narrower than here. So it's correct that it's not correct. So I think I'm just gonna do it the same way you would ease in a sleeve or something. Just pin it with the fury of 1,000 pins. And ease it in. And if it's a little bit puckered on the stitch line, it doesn't really matter, because that's going to be hidden behind the folded over part anyway. Hey, Nico! See, you woke up. Looks nice. I mean, it's just a pile of stuff right now, but it's coming together nicely. Like it's doing what I hoped it would do. So, and most of the plans I had actually worked. As usual, it's a bit more slow than I originally anticipated. That's how that goes. Ouch. Keep poking myself with that pin there. Okay, I think that's worked. And I think the difference between the other pieces is very small, so that should be not a problem. But honestly, I'm not sure. I'm continuing a thought that was in my head and I wasn't talking about. I was thinking about the white shirt that I made for underneath this. The one that I YOLO'd my way through because I didn't feel like using my brain for a while. I'm kind of thinking now that I'll make a nicer one out of more drapey fabric and with more attention to whether the sleeves are long enough or not. But I don't know. Am I gonna wear it often enough? More likely it's just gonna get worn once or twice for a picture and then end up in my closet. Or maybe I could use it as pajamas, but it doesn't need to be nice for that, does it? So let's get this lining in. I'm just gonna leave a small gap. Oh, I'm pointing at something you can't see. So this line, let's get rid of this. This line is where the mitered corner is. This is the original fold line, and this is where I'm gonna be attaching the lining. So there's a small gap between the edge of the corner and the edge of the lining. And that's the part that gets folded back. So there's gonna be a little gap. If you know exactly where to look, you could stick your finger in it and end up on the inside of the garment, but it's not gonna move or anything. It's not gonna cause any trouble, so I'm just gonna leave it that way. Okay, so maybe I should have stitched this from the other side. It's not that bad, but I did occasionally, like, look, this is fine. This seam allowance is still on this side and on that side, but some of the other seam allowances on the lining have, like, frumped over to the side where they shouldn't be. You can't probably tell from the other side. If you can, I'm gonna redo it, but probably it won't show. I will know, but it will be well hidden. So let's check whether I've done this right. I'm just gonna pin the top to the top and then sort of pull it tight and see if the distance is what I think it should be. Did I even mark the center here? Obviously not. Alright, so center back, pinned to center back. And then reaching the bottom, I'm gonna have to iron this. Like, I know I said I couldn't turn it any hotter because it would melt, but it's just not holding the fold at all. But if I sort of stretch this out and line up the length, then at the bottom we end up with a tiny bit of wiggle room here, but it's never gonna go over the edge. So this is exactly what I wanted. I'm happy. It worked. It's cool. I can't tell which ones have the seam allowances of the lining folded over the wrong way. So I'm gonna keep this. So now I'm gonna turn it inside out again, and I'm gonna do the armholes, and that should be the last thing that's gonna happen inside out. After that, it's doing the shoulder seams and the collar, but I don't think I'm going to get to it today. See if any of this needs more trimming. Perhaps. It is a little bit long. It's probably not going to help it stay folded, so let's give this a trim. Make sure I don't cut into anything I still need. Maybe I'll iron the bottom edge and then put some heavy things on it and just leave it for a couple of days. So it can really, really get annoyingly, irreparably folded. Because that's where I want it to be. I'm a little bit hesitant to crank up the heat on the iron because I did start melting the fabric when I did that the other day, so. Okay. Oops, I missed a bit. Now let's get the armholes. That's probably just going to be a lot of pinning and careful checking. I should probably flip that over. I always forget to pin along the top edge, and then when I'm putting it under the machine, I hate myself. Because all the pins will be facing the wrong way. Not quite exact. Let's also make sure that I've got the seam at the bottom here lined up before that gets out of alignment. Yeah. So when I'm done with this, I'm gonna have a lot of little threads to pull out of the seams. It's gonna probably take me a while. Does anyone have any recommendations on what YouTube channel or what stream I should watch while I'm painstakingly doing that on my desk? Really depends on the type of content I enjoy. I mean, obviously I like craft things. I also like people talking about interesting stuff things. I don't know, I don't really like the gaming sort of stream usually, unless it's a game I'm at that time really into. Because, I don't know. But even then, I prefer just playing that game rather than watching someone else play. And currently the game I'm really into is Minecraft. And watching someone else build their project is not the same as me building my base. So I don't know. Like, I was talking earlier about the Makers and Crafting corner on Twitch, and I usually end up looking at some craft I have no idea about, like blacksmithing or like cosplay people doing stuff with foam. like prop makers or something. There's a great DIY French channel. What's it called? Is it a Twitch stream or is it a YouTube channel? Is it a joke that went way over my head? I have no idea what the smiley face is for. I'm probably derping on it. Effet poulain. Okay, I'm gonna have a look at that. Is the great advantage of YouTube over live streams is that it always works. Alright, I'm gonna check those out while I'm unpicking all the little threads from this monstrosity. I have a feeling that this sleeve doesn't, no, it's not even a sleeve, it's an armhole. It doesn't want to line up as much as the other one. The other one just naturally fell into place, but this one, I'm having to wiggle a bit. Why is that? Alright, that's the side seam lined up, so maybe it'll fall into place a bit more easily now. And yes, it is. That's good. How long do I want to stream today? I'm gonna stream till 6, so for another like 18 minutes-ish. I mean, I'm gonna stop at a point where I'm like, oh, okay, I've stitched the seams. I'm gonna call it a day. But usually I stream until 6. So, I've got about 18 minutes left. And then I get hungry and I want to get dinner. I keep calling them the sleeves, don't I? They're not sleeves. They're armholes. Oh, I also want to leave some time to show the shirt design that's probably going to be next week's stream. So... I think I can pin this, stitch this, and then I'm gonna show what I was gonna do with the shoulder seams, because I think it's gonna work, but I haven't quite convinced myself. So if I explain it to you and show it, I will know for sure that it does. Then I'll show you the sketch, and then I'm gonna make dinner. And then, but the dinner part is not gonna be on stream. I mean, I could become a cooking channel, I guess. But some other time. Like maybe when I've cleaned my kitchen. But yeah, my cooking is like my sewing. I just make it up as I go along, so maybe not get too many more watchers on that. Alright, stitching time. Let's not screw up the lining seam allowances this time. Get back there! I yelled at them and they listened. Arm sigh. Yes, arm sigh. That is a word. I never, for some reason, it's not really in my active vocabulary or something. I just keep calling them armholes. Because they're holes where your arm goes. And I guess because that's what they're called in like Dutch sewing lingo. It's armschot. No fancy words here. Lining check. Lining check approved. Whoops. Just dropping some pins, no big disasters. Alright, so, progress. I've got these stitched together, and I'm obviously going to have to trim it and clip into it to be able to turn it and understitch it, but I'll do that later. Because what I want to convince myself of right now is that if I turn this outside out through the neckline, which I still can, so that part of the plan still works. That then I've got keep unfolding surprises from in here. Then this will be open enough that I can take, and hopefully this will be open enough that, so this needs to go together. And it needs to go together like, well, not like this, because then you've got seam allowances poking out. It needs to go together like upside down, I think. There has to be a mathematical way I can do this. Oh yeah, so if I fold it open, and stitch it like this. I'm gonna just pin this real quick. Not across here, because that is actually where it's gonna fold. Like here. This is how I'm gonna stitch it. Right. So I've got these two together, and then you flip them, and it becomes a connected thing. And it totally checks out. That's pretty sweet. I think what I invented works. Yay! Alright, but I'm gonna do that after I clean up all what this mess is. So, let's talk about next week. I've got a sketch. We've got a sketch of the plan, but I'm not sure. I think you can see that. So this is obviously the waistcoat, and this is the plan for the new thing. Let's make sure I've got enough light on the page. So I'm gonna keep the huge puffy sleeve, but it's gonna be a raglan sleeve, and then these lines represent some pin tucks. I'm not sure pin tuck is the correct word, because I find a couple of people having like different interpretations of what that word means. What it means to me is like you fold the fabric in half, you do a stitch a little bit along the edge, and then you just get a tiny like folded over line in the middle of your fabric. I hope that that's what it is, but I've also seen people use pin tuck to describe darts that have not been stitched into darts and just been tucked into another seam. So I don't know. It's going to be stitchy lines. That's what it's going to be. So stitchy lines along the shoulders, sort of also shown here in this. That's to mimic the gathered stuff coming off the sleeve. I'm going to keep the fact that the front is only open to about here-ish, but I'm going to make a conventional finish on it. And then instead of doing darts for the waist, I'm going to do more pin tucks in the area where the darts would go. It looks a bit weird in the drawing, like there's going to be this huge dark spot, but obviously it's going to be all black fabric. And I had a shirt a couple of years back that did that did exactly this, and I really liked it. So that's what I'm going to do. It's going to eat up most of the front dart. It's going to be a little bit less. If I estimate that each of these is going to eat up about let's say 2 millimeters of fabric or 3 millimeters of fabric. It's going to be, if I make 5 of them next to each other, it's a 1.5 centimeter dart, which is a bit less than I need, but I'll just take the rest out of the side seam or something. And I'm obviously going to keep the huge collar. So next week is going to be pattern drafting this. I'm going to start out with my base pattern, and I'm going to figure out, like, I've never done raglan sleeves before. I've looked up some tutorials, and I think I can do it. It makes a decent amount of sense. And everything else I'll have to figure out as well. So that's what I think next week's going to be. It's going to be pattern drafting the plan for the other shirt. So with that, I'm going to leave you to it, and I'm going to make some dinner. So thanks a lot for hanging out with me again in my sewing room, and I hope that you'll be back next week and that you have a great rest of your Sunday. I was going to say great weekend, but that doesn't really work that way, does it? Have a great Monday tomorrow, and I'll see you later.